Hey guys, my name is Xiao Yang and my English name is Aurora. I'm from AMA1501 Group A. Today we are going to deal with the question 1A from mock examination paper 3. First of all, let's check out the question together. The analysis of an investment company is analyzing the payout ratio of stocks in the market. A random sample of stocks is selected, and the following table summarizes the results. For question A, we need to calculate the mean and standard deviation of payout ratio according to the table given above. So how should we do this? Let's see the mean first. For grouped data, the mean can be obtained by adding together all of the class marks of each group multiplies the frequency of each group dividing by n, where n can be the total frequency. Let's take the first group as an example. The class mark of the first group can be calculated by adding together the upper class boundary and the lower class boundary, which is 0 plus 0.05, and divided them by 2, and turns out to be 0.025 as the class mark. And the frequency of the first group equals to the number of stocks of the first group, which is 5. So we just multiply them together. And for the other groups, we use the same way to calculate the class mark and find out the frequency. By adding them together, we get the data 28.425. Then we need to calculate the total frequency, which is simply adding them together. 5 plus 10 plus 19 plus 30 plus 16 plus 12 plus 8 equals to 100. So the mean of the payout ratio turns out to be 28.425 divided by 100. Equals to 0.28425. And then let's see the standard deviation. That seems a little bit difficult. Let's see the table and my handwriting. For grouped data, the standard deviation can be calculated by finding the square root of the sum of products of the frequency of each group multiplies bracket the class mark of each group minus the mean bracket square dividing by the total frequency minus 1. Also, let's take the first group as an example. The frequency of the first group is 5. We have 5 multiplies bracket 0.025, the class mark, minus 0.28425, the mean, bracket square. And as smart as you, I think you can figure out the other 6 groups by yourself. And by adding them together, we get 3.16206875. Then we need to figure out the total frequency, minus 1. Since the total frequency is 100, so 100 minus 1 equals to 99. We just find the root of this data writing below. And we get the standard deviation for the payout ratio, which is 0.17872. Okay, actually this problem is not that difficult. We only use 2 formulas to calculate. But actually the data, or to say the result, is a little bit difficult to figure out. So if you are not that careful, you may make some mistakes. Oh, okay, we have already solved the problem 1A from mock examination paper 3. I hope all of you have understand. Thanks for watching.
Now let's look at question 1b. To draw a histogram for the payout ratio. First, we need to clarify what's the meaning for x and y. We see that x represents for the payout ratio, but y, from the frequency distribution table, we can see it's the number of stocks. But to draw a frequency histogram of payout ratio, I used relative frequency as y. But we can see that the class interval varies from 0.05 to 0.01. Later, the interval is 0.1 and the class width becomes 0.2 later on. So in this case, we need to divide these numbers accordingly to remain the consistency in the frequency histogram. And then the y also varies 5, 10, 9.5, which 19 divided by 2, 15, 8, 3, and 2. And then we get the frequency histogram of payout ratio.
Hello everyone, this is Zoe. Today I will explain mock examination paper 3. Problem 1. The analyst of an investment company is analyzing the payout ratio of stocks in the market. A random sample of stocks is selected and the following table summarizes the results. My teammates will cover section A and section B. I believe I only have to explain section C. Estimate from the frequency distribution table the range of payout ratio for the middle 80% of the stocks. First, let's understand what the requirements are. The middle 80% of the stocks indicates that we should select data from the middle, ignore the beginning and the end. A random select of data that covers 80% of the stocks is not acceptable. After reflecting what we have learned in class, the concept percentiles seems to match the requirements. According to its definition, P10 represents the value larger than 10% of the data, and P90 represents the value larger than 90% of the data. The total number of stocks is 100, so 10% of the data will be 10, and 90% of the data will be 90. Let's do some calculation. To make the process easier, we can solve out the cumulative frequency of each class. And to calculate a percentile, first we need to find which class does it fall in. P10 is falling in second group and P90 is falling in the sixth group. We apply the formula P10 equals L1 plus 10 minus C divided by F10 multiply L2 minus L1. L1 is the lower boundaries of the second class, and L2 is the upper boundaries of the second class. F10 is the number of stocks in the second class, in this case 10, and C is the cumulative frequency of the previous class. In this case, the number of stocks in the first class, that is 5. The same approach to P90. L1 equals the lower boundaries of the sixth class, and L2 equals the upper boundaries of the sixth class. F90 equals the number of stocks in the sixth class, in this case 12, and C is the cumulative frequency of the fifth class, in this case 80. If you've done the math correctly, you can figure out the answer will be P10 equals 0.075 and P90 equals 0.567. As mentioned in previous slide, we're trying to find the intersection of the two ranges, the range 0 to P10 and the range 0 to P90. So in fact, we just combine these two values and get the answer. The answer will be 0.075 to 0.567. And that's all. Thank you for watching. I hope it helps.
Hello, my name is Chung Cam To from Group 1. I'm responsible for question 1A and 1B for the 2015 to 2016 semester 1 examination. And first, the question requires us to find the mean, median, and the standard deviation of the test scores, and by which we will first focus on the mean, which is the sum of samples, which is actually class mass times frequency, and the class mass is calculated by the upper class limit plus the lower class limit and then divided by 2. You can see a complete list over here. And we should also find the total number of sample, which is 100. By getting these two information, we will get the mean, which is actually 77.15 marks. And then we should focus on the median, or you can say it is a percentile 50. The median consists of the lower class boundary, in this case is 70.5, and plus the location of the median minus the cumulative frequency of the classes before the class contains the medians, which is 50 minus 29, and then divided by 30, which is the class width. And after that, we should multiply by the upper class boundary minus the lower class boundary, which is 80.5 minus 70.5. And after that, we will get the median of 77.5 marks. And after that, it's time to calculate the standard deviation. The standard deviation consists of the square root of the sum of the square of the samples minus mean and then divided by the total number of samples minus 1, which the samples are actually the class mass, which I have shown just earlier. And after that, the most important thing is to remember the minus 1 part. The total number of the samples is 100, and therefore minus 1 equals 99. And after doing this, we will get the standard deviation of 15.19328 marks. And after doing that, it's time for part B. We should look at the question. The part B requires to find the top 10 candidates of the lowest test score to have the certificate. And the top 10% of the candidate of this test will have this kind of certificate of merit. And therefore, we should find the top 10% of those 100 students, which is actually 100 times 90%, which is 90, and you can express it in decile 9 or percentile 90, which means the same. And it's actually calculated by the method similar to what we just did to the median, which we should get the lower class boundary, which is the 19.5, and then plus the position of the number required, which is 90, and minus the cumulative frequency before that, which is 84, and then divided by 11, which is the frequency of the class contain that required number, and then multiplied by 100.5 minus 90.5, which is actually the difference of the class boundaries, and we will get the answer of 95.95454545. And at this point, the main idea is to estimate which we should get the nearest integer of the answer, and then we will have 96 marks as our answer. And so that the lowest test score to have the certificate is 96 marks. And that's it for today. Thank you.
The common question comes from 2015 to 2016 academic year semester 2 examination. Question 1a asks the mean and standard deviation of amount approved. Before we do the calculation, we should first recognize that there is a typo in the question as shown in the slide. Let's move on to talk about the calculation. We know the formula for the mean and standard deviation as they were provided in the formula sheet in the examination. However, if we do follow the formula for the standard deviation, the procedures will be quite tedious. Indeed, from the lecture notes with mathematical proof, we know that it can also be done in a simpler way. In this equation, f subscript I is the frequency and x subscript I is the value of the ith item, which will be represented by the class mark. In order to get all the elements in the equation, we have to do a table like this. After that, we can substitute all the elements we get into the formula and the equation. You can do it with your own calculator. Let's see if we can get full mark if we have written down answer like this. Congratulations, 1 mark will be deducted. The answer is similarly correct, but it's only for the numeric part. Indeed, we have missed out the dollar sign, which is the units. The tutor has mentioned this for many times, so he will tease us if we have missed it out. Just kidding, he will not tease us, will he? Okay, let me pass my time to my groupmates to talk about the rest of the question.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Liu Xinyi from the Group A of AMA1501. Glad to solve the problem with all of you. Let's read the problem first. Estimate from the frequency distribution table the personal loan amount that 5% of the approved cases have the amount larger than it. It's easy for you to find a mistake in the table. Look, it should be 80,000 here. Then just transfer 5% to 1/20, which can be regarded as a fractile. Do you remember the method to calculate median or dectile? To get the answer to this problem, you can just do the similar thing. First of all, just add the frequency of each class up to get the total frequency of the personal loan. After multiplying the total amount by 1/20, you can know the exact number of people who should have a larger amount of loan than the answer. Obviously, all these people are from the last class, for there are 7 in. What is the estimated d-value between the smallest amount and 20,000? The ratio can explain it. It is 20,000 multiplied by 5 and divided by 7, because the ratio of the d-value to the class width and the ratio of 5 to the frequency of the last class is equal. After getting the answer, 40,285.71, just use the higher boundary 110,000 to minus it. Then you can get the answer. Finish!
Hello everyone, this is Harry, and my Chinese name is Song Zhixiao. Today I'm working with Semester 2 examination, Question 1, Part C. So first let me read the question. If the amount of an approved case is below $80,000, then 1% of the approved amount will be paid to the bank as charges, Otherwise, 2% of the approved amount will be paid. If the total number of approved cases in the first quarter of this year was 50,000, then estimate from the frequency distribution table the total amount of charges received in the first quarter of this year. So first, let me find some important words in the question. First is that those below $80,000, 1% will be charged. Otherwise, 2% will be charged. And the total number is 50,000. So let's look at my note. Firstly, we need to calculate the total records amount. And as you can see from the distribution table, we add all the number of records up, 4 plus 10 plus 17 and all these numbers, like this, we can get 100 in the total records amount. And since we need to estimate the total amount, we can use percentage to represent each class. And the first class had 4, so it took 4% of the total amount. The total amount is 50,000, so 50,000 multiplied 4% is the amount of the first class. 30,000 is the class mark of the first mark. We use them to multiply 1%, then we can get the charge the first class should pay. And using the same method, we can calculate all these 5 groups, which is below 80,000 and all their charges. And for those above 80,000, we use them to multiply 2% and other remain the same. We can get them charges too. And finally, we need to calculate the total amount of charges. So we add all these charges up. And we finally get the number that is 43,500,000.